Thank you guys so much for joining us. We are here for the Q&A of Wheelhouse. We have the co-creators here, Andy Myra and Terrence Brown. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Your project is hysterical. I want to just dive right in and talk about it. How did this idea come to you? Where did this originate from?
So this started actually when I played a lot of company softball in New York City in my first job right out of college. And it started out as kind of like a thing you get dragged into. And then by like the third inning, it became the thing that I was then going to commit my life to doing. And was like, this is the greatest thing in the world. I'm going to play all the time. By like the end of the first summer, I was playing on 4 different teams. It just was a transformative experience. So eventually, and then Terrence and I, when we started working on stuff together, we both love sports. We both love comedy. So it felt like a natural fit.
Yeah, it was easy to get attached to it. So like grab onto this project and be like, oh, I know that feeling of sports being the only time I can be my authentic self and let people in a little bit and like shed my sort of like persona or the wall that I had up. So like it just made all the sense in the world to me.
That's so well put, because that's one of the takeaways that I at least had from this was that you can kind of talk to your boss in a way on the baseball field, softball field, that you wouldn't in the office. That you can kind of not be Terrence the employee and just be Terrence yourself and just kind of let your guard down a little bit, which is fun and scary at the same time.
Well, it's great for Terrence the employee, and it's horrifying for the boss.
Right.
And I think that's what comes across too in the project. So it's like where the whole kind of status ladder of the office gets flipped around on the field.
Yep.
And then it has to kind of fit back into shape when you get back into the office. And some people love it. Some people struggle with it.
Yep.
Yeah. Each game's a reset. It's like as close to a meritocracy as you can get. It's like, well, Dave's got 4 hits today. Dave's the guy you want to go to, right? So it changes every single game. But then in the office, it's always the same. And so like how do you like fit back into that?
Absolutely. I played softball in high school and lived in Chicago, and I joined a company softball team. And I didn't know until I joined in the winter. And then when the season came around, you start hearing whispers, and they're like, I hear Lauren played in high school. I heard she can hit. Like, and it became a thing. And then they saw me play and they were like, ooh, this girl. And I was an assistant, and it helped. It helped me climb the ranks a bit. And it's just funny how the dynamics can cross over from the field to the bar to the workplace. But I really enjoyed seeing all that all play out.
And information definitely travels. There's definitely the people who have their ears open for, oh, she plays softball. Like I heard that information is going to get to the person who needs it. Yep. You're going to get dragged out there.
Totally. Whether you want to or not.
Everyone wants to be responsible too. It was like, I found the ringer. I found the time in the office. Yeah.
That's great. So why did you decide to locate it in Chicago if you had all of these New York experiences?
Well, we both lived in Chicago for a long time. Terrence still lives in Chicago. I lived there for a long time. So we knew that it was, first of all, a very compatible softball community. Sure. So people who love softball, love bars, probably dislike their jobs. And then also we through Terrence, we connected with the group called the Chicago Media Angels, who are funding projects out of Chicago. Right. So we both had connections we had both worked at Second City for a long time. And so we had a lot of people that we had worked with and we knew would be great for this kind of project. And we had these producers who were looking to kind of make something in Chicago. So it felt like a really natural fit.
Yeah, baseball fields everywhere here, softball fields everywhere. There's Chicago style softball. So.
Bars too. I know Chicago has softball, it's a thing. It's such a great, I love that Chicago can be part of, it felt like a character, just like seeing those streets and seeing just that back or the L. I mean, it just feels like it becomes part of the story.
And especially when you're in those situations and, we have stuff that's like 3 o'clock, the scenes that happen at 3 o'clock in the morning after the bar, where you're out with your friend and you've got your baseball bat from the game before,
Yep.
from the game earlier that night. You're just hitting stale dinner rolls that you picked up out of a dumpster. And you're like, this is the greatest time in my life. This is fantastic.
There was something about that scene that honestly, that was one of my favorite scenes, I think, out of this whole festival. That just really it was so charming and so like, I don't know, authentic in a weird way. Not that I've ever like peed in a bush and gotten chased down by an old man or, you know, had batting practice in the middle of the night with stale bread. But it was just it was heartwarming and charming. And I just love that was that final scene that we saw out of the episode. And anyway, kudos. I thought that was fantastic.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that was probably our favorite scene too, where it was kind of like those weird, when your real life becomes a kind of absurdist comedy at 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
When the people who are out just don't make any sense together.
No.
And the behavior doesn't really make any sense together, but somehow out of it, you just end up feeling so much better.
Yeah.
And after concluding that, you're ready to like actually get up and go back to work the next day.
Yeah. Yeah. I just loved too. It felt like those characters, they needed that, you know, like both of those characters they needed that moment. They needed that night. It just it felt like medicinal somehow.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. It was great. So how did you cast the project? How did you guys, were they folks from Second City? How did all that come together? Because I mean, Quinn, good God, where did you find him?
Yes, great question. So Quinn is an incredibly talented comedian, improviser, Brian Jack, who's been around Chicago for a really long time. I worked with him at Second City. He's in a group called The Reckoning. He's phenomenal. So Brian was somebody that we brought in as somebody that we knew who'd be great for that. And then we also worked with a casting agency in Chicago to cast some of the other roles. I think it was a nice mix in terms of with this real ensemble. You wanted some people with like legit acting chops that could just hold down what they needed to do. And then you needed some people who were just comedic balls of fire. And so he was next.
That's great. So I noticed there was a few moments, especially there was like one scene in the kitchen where it seemed like they were kind of riffing. And I was curious how much you let them go versus like stick to what's on the page.
Yeah.
Believer personally in like stick what's on the page. I wrote it. It's funny. Say it. But when you're working with like such great improvisers, right? Like you can do the takes of like what we wrote. And then you get the idea, you get the feeling, you get the emotion, like let them riff a little bit, let them play around and see what they can do. And we had punch-ups from a few friends who we really trust, who were like really great, funny improvisers. Like really helped that scene in particular.
It's great. That was it was hysterical. What was the process of the whole shoot like? I mean, how long did it take? And did you anything crazy happen during that process? I mean, I would think if I saw somebody throwing bread out my window at 3:00 in the morning, I might be a little bit concerned.
Yeah, we let's see, we shot for I think 3 or 4 days in the late fall in Chicago. So it was the craziest part about it. We were just contending with like what happens in Chicago at the end of fall when it turns into like winter is coming.
Yeah.
So every day, every hour, you're just like looking at the trees and you're looking at the sky to see what's going to happen. So we did end up having to rearrange our schedule just based on like some inclement weather that moved us around. I mean, that's not crazy. That's just a thing that happens. Yeah, we had a pretty smooth shoot. We shot it at Second City. And then we were shooting at a famous bar, if your life isn't going great, bar in Chicago called Sluggers. Sluggers.
My high school friend's family owns Sluggers.
All right, I think okay.
What do you mean
that
part. They're going great.
Yeah. Redo that part. Like the bar.
There are batting cages upstairs. What is
100%. I've spent so many great nights in Sluggers.
That's hysterical. I love that they let you shoot at Sluggers. That's great.
Absolutely. They were like great hosts. They gave us a huge room to work in. There are batting cages there. I'm glad you know that.
Shout out to Sluggers.
Shout out to Sluggers. Go there when your life is going great.
That's fun. That's fun.
Yeah.
How was like just dealing with the crowds and all? I mean, because you were a lot of like location shooting with the no issues. You're just kind of kicking the bums out of Sluggers, or just saying, I'm going to buy you a picture of, whatever, old style, and just put it over in the corner.
Well, a lot of it was like shooting during the day, when Sluggers wasn't open.
Yes.
Yeah, and we still shot for night. But as far as the crowds were, I think we shot on like Monday, Tuesday, and so there weren't like a lot of crowds to contend with, which was like, really great for us in terms of timing of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest issue we had was getting another softball team out there, right?
Really?
Extras who could play softball, and at least believably enough to do some of the stuff that we had in the scenes, and ended up like very last minute getting some players from an improv baseball team to like just come out and donate their time and be the other team.
Okay. There's an improv baseball team in Chicago. I think we need to like know about this.
League, right? There's a whole like softball league for them. So a few of those players came out and helped us out, and it was great.
That's so funny. Well, next time you need ringers, give me a call. I'm sure I can find some for you in the ad agency league that are working at Leo Burnett or whatever, wherever they are.
Perfect.
That's perfect. I love it. And I love that this is just, it's not a workplace comedy, just not, it has its own feel. It has its own spirit to it. And really kind of getting out of the office and pushing the boundaries of these traditional roles. And it's very well done. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
Looks great. Well, want to chat all day, but I'm sure you have other things to do. Maybe you don't, because we're all in lockdown, but
let's just stay here to be best friends, guys. I'll make lunch.
Well, we can do a Zoom happy hour later or something.
Perfect.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. This has been great, and I hope that all the viewers enjoyed Wheelhouse as much as I did. And follow these guys, and go to Sluggers if you're in Chicago. Go have some beer and hit some balls.
Do it.
I love it, guys. Thank you so much for joining me, and this has been the Q&A for Wheelhouse.
Thank you.